All right, we are here at Panorama Farms for the 2023 NCAA Cross Country Championships. Chris Chavez here with Isaac Wood. Let's break down the women's team title race. This one, the polls have been going back and forth all throughout the season. This year started off with NC State's women coming into it as the favorite, but then very quickly NAU has risen in the rankings and they come into the national championships with the #1 ranking. Isaac, everyone's looking at these two teams for the women's team title. How are you sizing up this matchup?
You know, it's kind of a flip-flop conversation on the men's side where it's like it's NAU until it's not. You kind of have to feel the same way about NC State. You know, is it NC State until it's not? I think NC State has more wild cards, which is surprising coming from a team that's been dominant over the past few years. And so when you're looking at an NC State team, you're wondering like what kind of impact can Amar Stanisma has if she finishes the race, right? She DNF'd at regionals. What kind of impact can some other younger athletes have, like Aaliyah Stevens? But then you have an NAU who's kind of the up and comer. You know, last year I think they were on the podium last year. If they weren't, they were close. Either way, there's been some stats thrown out there that I think Superfan, our boy Superfan, Jesse Squire, he threw out some stats a while back that said like, you know, you need to at least be like second or third the year before in order to win. Like that's kind of been like the case. And I think
keeps you hungry,
right? I think NAU kind of fits that, so that's why I think it is interesting that you know that they could kind of be what maybe BYU was in 19 when the men won, coming off with the 18 finishing second. I think NAU kind of has that upstart kind of mentality with this team, a lot of fresh new talent. It's kind of almost a combination of New Mexico's, half of New Mexico's team and who NAU returned and who they signed. That's what makes them really dangerous. It's almost like having two teams.
So NC State coming in as defending champs, we haven't seen their total package the entire year.
Right.
So what are you expecting them to roll out at the national championships?
Well, I expect Tuohy to run a smart race. I expect her to kind of just, you know, kind of almost like a match everything Valby does. Wait, and then
she played the role of like the hunter last year. And
yeah,
beautiful.
I think that I don't know if she will hunt as much. I think if you're Tuohy, you have to fear her a little more. Like, I don't think you can let her get away from you too much. So to counter that with
talking Parker Valby.
With Valby, yeah. To counter that though, they have Kelsey Chmiel, who is really dangerous. That's a top 5 NCAA finisher in my opinion. And so when you have a 1-2 punch that's going to be top 5, you can almost lock that in. Man, like as long as you're 3, 4, 5 just even have remotely decent days, it's going to be hard to beat that team.
But NAU comes in as #1. How have they been able to kind of pack together? They don't have as powerful of a low stick. Yes, Elise Stearns is
very good.
Yeah. But I guess like how do they get it done?
Yeah, well, they get it done through their compression, right? I mean, they put five runners in 10 seconds, and if Stearns is 10th and you put 5 girls 5 seconds to 10 seconds after that, that's how you win a national championship, right? So I think that there's something to be said for having a compression that's that tight. NC State won't have a compression that tight, so they're going to have to rely on having 2 in the top 5, which I think is just about chalk at this point for them.
All right, so the women who just ran by, BYU, they've also got a chance at returning to the podium. How good is this team?
It's a very quality team. It's under the radar, and you know they've run here before at pre-nationals about a month ago at this point. Ran really well. Had a great race out of Carmen Alder, who I don't know if anyone was even factoring her in as their #1 this year. So they have a lot of moving parts that could be in their top 5. They don't have a low stick that I think can be top 5, but they got a bunch of women that could finish between 20 and 40. And so that's probably more of at this point the makeup of a podium team, but still, yeah, a quality program.
Before we started recording, I said, all right, yeah, this is NC State versus NAU, right? And you were a little hesitant. You're like, no, actually, I like Florida a lot. In addition to Parker Valby being the ultimate low stick for them, contending for the win, Coach Will Palmer has assembled a squad that might, like the rankings don't reflect it. You think that they should be higher up.
I like them. Well, you're only scoring 4 women at this point, right? If you get the winner. He's been really metered or really patient with Amelia Mazzadowney, transfer from New Mexico. And I think that, you know, we'll have to see how that plays. Sometimes you're almost not you're almost not race calloused enough if you don't race enough. But we'll see if the limited amount of racing that she's done will keep her fresher and more hungry, or if it will have her less prepared. We'll find out. That'll be a key point to watch on Saturday. But I like Flomena Asicol, the transfer from Alabama, who followed Will and Sam from Alabama to Florida. I like Elise Thorner, another transfer from New Mexico. I like Allie Wilson. And so, I think they have the pieces of a team that on the right day is going to surprise NAU and NC State, and them and BYU have a bunch of athletes that are going to be the fillers in between what NAU and NC State are trying to put together in that top 20.
We're walking the course. It's in 60 degrees right now. We're forecast to have a little bit warmer of a championships. Does that favor the Gators?
Yeah, it might. It might favor them. I mean, it's going to be warmer than a national championship that I can remember. It's not humid, really, so that's not going to be the problem. But I do think that the warmth will play a factor to some degree, especially when you have teams who probably haven't had temps above 50. I don't know. When's the last time they had over 50 in Flagstaff? I mean, I haven't looked at their weather, so I don't know. But I kind of assume it hasn't been warm there recently. I'd say the same thing in Provo. For Raleigh, they might be a little more ready for this, and for the University of Florida, they should be prepared for the weather here. But it'll be interesting to see what kind of a factor that plays, because it definitely will. Usually it's gloves on, it's headbands, it's jackets at the start line until you absolutely can't anymore, and it won't be like that this national championship.
All right, so we've already walked about 1.5 miles of this course. We're going to see the rest of it. But what have been your impressions, and does that favor any sort of particular team here?
It's
BYU's seen it.
Yeah. The teams who have seen it, it does help. I will say that the person who invented cross country, this is what they visualized. I think this is exactly what what the cross country purists would say. This is real cross country, right? The grass, it's short, but it's not even. We've had moments where Mac almost went down, or I almost rolled my ankle, and so I think that it's not perfectly manicured. Oklahoma State was perfectly manicured. It's just a little more rough and tumble, but it's a little more just real cross country. That probably favors, in my opinion, that might favor an NAU. I feel like this is the basic kind of stuff that they run on a regular basis. I think it's going to favor people who are a little more prepared for just a little more grit and grind, and less finesse. I don't know who that favors up front. I think Valby and Tuohy can run whatever they want, so it doesn't really matter. But I think that from a team perspective, I think the teams that have done work on maybe not the most perfect surfaces, and maybe they haven't been on the track all across country season, I think that this might favor teams that have done a little more work on the grass. All
right, it's time, Isaac. Let's lock in your predictions. Let's start with the podium, number 4.
Number 4, I'm going BYU.
Okay, why?
I like their team. I just don't know if they have the low stick to be 3rd, 2nd, or 1st, but their compression is really good from 1 to 5. And I think they have the pieces from 1 through 7 even to really put as many women as they can between that 15th spot over to about 60 to 70.
3.
I like Florida. Yep. I like with Valby up front. They're going to have the ultimate low stick, I think, but then they have the pieces to really have a solid 3rd place team. 2nd, I'm going to go NC State, as I'm pulling out the broom, bro, for the sweep for NAU. I like NAU's women. I think that I do, like we were talking about just earlier, I like this course for them. I think that they're going to be ready, prepared to do this, and I think that they have a wave of confidence, some mojo, some magic in that program right now that I think they're going to ride into a national championship, and they're going to get the sweep.
When's the last time a team took both titles? Is it like 04, 08, something like that?
Yeah, it's been long enough that I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
all right, there you have it. Isaac's predictions for the women's team race here at the 2023 NCAA Cross Country Championships.